He had been standing near the edge of the observation hall for almost an hour, pretending to study the slow movement of stars beyond the glass. In truth, he was doing what he always did in places like this. He stayed quiet, stayed out of the way, and waited for the event to end. As a human in a galaxy full of taller, stronger, brighter beings, he had learned early that drawing attention rarely ended well. The hall was filled with voices in dozens of tones and rhythms. Some were sharp and metallic, others smooth and musical. Tall figures moved with confidence, their clothing shining with symbols of rank and power. This was not a place meant for someone like him. He was here because his job demanded it, nothing more. A low-level logistics officer responsible for tracking supplies and schedules. Important work, but invisible work. He adjusted the simple fabric of his uniform and checked the data pad in his hand. Everything was in order. No missing shipments. No delays. That meant he could leave soon. That thought alone made the long wait worth it. Across the hall, a small crowd had formed. He did not need to look to know why. There was only one reason gatherings like this grew loud so quickly. The alien girl stood at the center without trying to. She did not speak loudly or gesture wildly. She did not need to. Her presence did the work for her. Members of different species stood a little straighter when she was near. Some tried to appear relaxed, others openly stared. Even those who claimed indifference kept glancing in her direction. She was considered rare, not just for her appearance, but for what she represented. Her species held influence in trade, research, and future expansion routes. To be close to her meant opportunity. To be chosen by her meant power. He knew all this because everyone knew all this. It was impossible not to. The moment her arrival had been announced, the station had changed. Guards doubled. Schedules shifted. Important figures arrived uninvited. Hoping to be seen, he did not join them. Instead, he stayed by the glass. Watching stars that had no idea any of this mattered. What he did not know was that she had noticed him. The moment she entered the hall, at first. She assumed he was another servant or minor official. Humans often filled those roles. They worked well, complained little, and adapted fast. Still, something about the way he stood caught her attention. He was not pretending to be busy for show. He was not watching her when he thought no one noticed. His focus was outward, not inward. Curious, she observed him quietly. Time passed. Many approached her. Some praised her beauty. Some spoke of alliances and futures. Some tried humor. Others tried dominance. All of them wanted something. It was always clear. She answered politely, patiently, the way she had been trained since childhood. Yet her eyes kept drifting back to the human by the glass. When he finally turned, it was not to look at her. It was because his datapad chimed softly. He frowned, checked a note, then sighed in relief when he realized it was nothing urgent. His shoulders relaxed in a way that told her he was tired, not bored. That difference mattered. She took a step away from the group, then another. Conversations around her faltered as people noticed her moving. Some followed. Some waited, assuming she would stop. She did not. She walked across the hall toward the human, her steps calm and unhurried. He sensed movement and turned just as she stopped a short distance from him. For a moment, he thought she was speaking to someone behind him. That made more sense. Then she looked directly at him, up close. Her presence was overwhelming in a quieter way. Not forceful, not threatening, but heavy with attention. He straightened out of reflex, then immediately felt foolish for doing so. She studied his face. Not like someone judging an object, but like someone reading a story. "You are human," she said. Yes, he replied. Unsure what else to add. "You are assigned to this station?" "Yes." "You have not tried to speak to me?" "No, That seemed to amuse her. Not a laugh, just a subtle shift in her expression. Why? He hesitated. Honesty came easier to him than cleverness. You seemed busy, and I did not think you needed another voice. Around them, silence spread. Others were watching now. He felt it, the pressure of eyes, and resisted the urge to step back. She tilted her head slightly. Most would disagree. He shrugged, small and unconfident. Most are braver than me. That answer surprised her. Bravery in her world was shown through challenge and display, strength proven by action. Yet here was a human admitting fear without shame, not asking for pity, not trying to mask it. Something shifted inside her. "May I stand here?" she asked. He nodded quickly. "Of course." They stood side by side, both facing the stars. From the outside, it looked simple. Two figures sharing a quiet moment. To those watching, it felt wrong. Important beings did not stand silently with low-ranking humans. Minutes passed. "Do you enjoy this view?" she asked. "Yes," he said. "It reminds me how small problems can be." She considered that. "And does that comfort you?" "Most days." She asked more questions. About his work, his homeworld, his routines. Nothing dramatic, nothing grand. He answered honestly, sometimes awkwardly, sometimes with dry humor that surprised even him. He did not ask her anything in return. Not because he lacked curiosity, but because he assumed she would share if she wished. That restraint mattered more than he knew. When the event ended, officials approached to escort her away. She nodded to them, then turned back to the human. "I will see you again," she said. He blinked. "If you need supply reports, I can send them." She smiled, this time openly. "That is not what I meant." Then she left. The hall erupted in whispers the moment she was gone. He stood frozen, unsure if he had done something wrong. No one explained anything. No one needed to. He felt it in the way people looked at him now. Confusion, suspicion, curiosity. He packed his datapad and left quietly. Heart pounding. Later that night, alone in his quarters. He replayed the conversation again and again. He could not find a mistake. He could not find the meaning either. Far away, in a chamber filled with advisors and expectations, the alien girl sat in silence. They spoke to her of duty, of alliances, of future choices. She listened, but her thoughts stayed with a human who had looked at stars instead of her, and in doing so, had seen her more clearly than anyone ever had. The next few days felt strange for him. Not dangerous, not exciting, just strange in a way that made simple routines feel heavier than usual. He returned to his work as always, checking cargo logs, confirming schedules, answering short messages. Nothing about his job had changed, yet everything felt slightly off, as if the station itself was watching him. People who had never noticed him before now paused when he passed. Some stared openly. Others whispered. A few looked annoyed, as if his presence alone offended them. He did not understand why. He had done nothing. He kept reminding himself of that. He tried to forget the moment by the glass. He told himself it had been a coincidence. A powerful alien choosing to speak with a quiet human did not have to mean anything. Yet he could not forget her voice, calm and direct, or the way she had said she would see him again, as if it were a simple fact. 2 days later, an official notice appeared on his datapad. Attendance required. Cultural compatibility review. Human representative. He read it 3 times before it made sense. His first thought was that there had been a mistake. Humans had representatives, but they were usually high-ranking officers or diplomats trained for years. Not someone like him. He sent a polite message asking for confirmation. The reply came quickly. No error. Your presence is requested." His hands felt cold as he prepared. He wore the same uniform he always did, clean but plain. There was nothing he could do to improve it. No medals to polish. No symbols to display. He was just himself, and that suddenly felt like a problem. The chamber was larger than the observation hall, circular and bright, with raised seating along the walls. Representatives from many species were already there. Some spoke quietly. Others watched him as he entered. He took a seat where he was directed, feeling small in a room built for beings larger than him. Then she arrived. The room fell silent in the way only important moments could force. She walked with steady steps, her posture relaxed but confident. This was not the same quiet presence from before. This was someone standing in a place of authority. She did not look at him right away. A senior official spoke, explaining the purpose of the gathering. It was meant to formalize a future bond, a choice, a tradition among her people that carried political weight. She was of age. She would choose a companion candidate from among those approved by the alliance. Names were spoken. Titles followed. Species with long histories and powerful standing were announced. Each candidate stepped forward when called, displaying confidence, strength, or charm. He was not on the list. He knew that with certainty. Humans rarely were. Then she raised her hand. "I will choose," she said. The official nodded. "You may." She turned slowly, and her eyes found him. For a moment, he thought she was looking past him again. He almost glanced over his shoulder. Then she spoke. "I choose the human." The room did not react right away. Silence stretched, thick and uncomfortable. Then voices rose, overlapping in disbelief. Some laughed softly, thinking it was a joke. Others protested openly. The official tried to speak, then stopped. The human sat frozen, heart pounding so hard he felt it in his throat. "This must be reconsidered," one representative said. "Humans are not suitable," another added. "This violates expectation," said a third. She listened to them all without changing her expression. "My choice is valid," she said calmly. "I have observed. I have decided." The official hesitated. "You understand the consequences?" "Yes." "And you stand by it?" "Yes." All eyes turned to the human. He felt the weight of the room press down on him. He stood slowly, unsure what he was expected to say. "I think," he began, then stopped. His voice sounded too loud in his own ears. "I think there has been a misunderstanding." She looked at him, not offended, not amused, just attentive. "You do not want this?" the official asked. He swallowed. "I do not understand it." A ripple of reaction passed through the chamber. Some seemed pleased by his doubt. Others seemed annoyed by his honesty. She spoke again. "That does not change my choice." The meeting ended in disorder. No decision was finalized. Committees were formed. Reviews scheduled. He was dismissed with instructions to remain available. When he left, his legs felt weak. The station buzzed with rumors within hours. Messages flooded internal networks. The story spread fast and without mercy. A human chosen over dozens of powerful beings. Some mocked her. Some mocked him. Many did both. He avoided common areas as much as possible. That evening, a private request arrived. Location attached. No explanation. He considered ignoring it. That would have been easier. Instead, he went. The room was smaller, quieter, designed for conversation rather than ceremony. She was already there, seated, hands folded. "You came," she said. "I did not know if I should," he replied honestly. "Why?" "Because I do not belong in this." She gestured for him to sit. He did. "You believe worth is decided by place," she said. I believe reality is, he answered. She studied him for a long moment. They want me to choose power. You think I chose wrong. I think you chose someone who will be hurt by this. That answer surprised her. Not yourself. He shook his head. I will survive. Humans always do. Silence filled the space between them. Everyone wants me, she said quietly. They say it as praise, as if being wanted is the same as being known. He listened. You did not want me, she continued. You did not try to impress. You did not see me as a path forward. I saw you as a person, he said, then paused. I think. Her eyes softened. That is why I chose you. He leaned back, overwhelmed. I am not special. She nodded. That is exactly it. Outside the room, the galaxy argued. Inside, two beings sat facing a future neither had planned, and for the first time, the human realized that being chosen was not a reward. It was a responsibility he was not sure he deserved, but one he could not walk away from. The days that followed were heavier than anything he had known before, not because of danger, but because of attention. Everywhere he went, eyes followed him. Doors opened faster. Messages arrived marked urgent even when they were not. He had not asked for any of it, and he did not know how to carry it. He was reassigned temporarily, removed from regular duties under the excuse of evaluation. That meant more waiting and less work, which only gave his thoughts more space to wander. Humans were used to struggle, to pressure, to effort. Waiting without control was harder. She requested to see him again, this time without officials, without witnesses, without ceremony. A quiet room, far from public halls. When he entered, she was standing by a window, much like the first one, though the stars here looked dimmer. You look tired, she said. I am, he replied. I am not good at being watched. She nodded slowly. Neither am I. They sat across from each other. The silence between them was not uncomfortable, but it was serious. Something needed to be said, and both of them knew it. You should know, she began, that my choice has caused more resistance than expected. He gave a weak smile. That was expected. You are being judged, she continued. Every movement, every word. I am used to being judged, he said. Just not noticed. She looked at him carefully. This is not about punishment. They want to understand why. Do you? He asked. She took a breath. I do. But understanding does not make explaining easier. He leaned forward slightly. Then tell me. Not them. Me. She hesitated, then began. From the time she was young, her life had been planned. Her value measured. She was taught how to stand, how to speak, how to listen. She learned early that people smiled at her, not because they liked her, but because they wanted what she represented. She had never lacked comfort, never lacked safety, but she had always lacked choice. When I speak, she said, they listen, but they do not hear. They wait for me to say something useful to them. He understood that more than she might expect. When I watched you, she continued, you did not look at me like that. You looked past me, not with disrespect, with freedom. He frowned slightly. I did not mean to ignore you. I know, she said. That is why it mattered. She explained that her people valued intensity, passion, display. Desire was shown openly, loudly. To want something was to reach for it. To hesitate was seen as weakness. You did not reach, she said. You waited. You allowed space. He shifted in his seat. I thought that was polite. It was human, she replied. That word landed with weight. You think humans are small, she said gently. So do many others. But you carry something rare. You live knowing you are fragile, and still you choose restraint. He looked down at his hands. "We do not have a choice." "You always have a choice," she said. "That is what makes it meaningful." Later that day, the first formal challenge arrived. Not a threat. Not an attack. A request. Psychological assessment. He was escorted to a white room filled with devices designed to measure stress, reaction, honesty. The examiners were calm, professional, and distant. They asked questions about fear, loyalty, ambition, about how he felt being chosen, about whether he believed he deserved it. "I do not," he answered honestly. They exchanged glances. "Why not?" "Because being chosen does not make me better," he said. "It just means someone saw something in me. And if they are wrong, then that is on me to prove or disprove," he said. Not them. The results confused them. His responses showed no hunger for power, no resentment, no hidden hostility. He was not exceptional by their metrics. He was stable, consistent, quietly determined. That unsettled them more than arrogance would have. The next test came 2 days later. Ethical review. He was presented with scenarios. Hypothetical situations involving sacrifice, obedience, conflict. He was asked what he would do if choosing one life meant losing many. If following orders meant hurting someone innocent. Answered slowly each time, thoughtfully. He did not try to give perfect answers. "I would choose the option that lets me live with myself," he said at one point. "Even if it costs me." "Why?" "Because humans break when we betray ourselves." That answer spread beyond the room. Meanwhile, she faced her own pressure. Her advisors questioned her privately and publicly. They warned her of political fallout, of reduced influence, of lost opportunities. She listened, as she always had. Then she said something she had never said before. "I am not a resource." The room fell silent. "I am not a bridge. I am not a prize. I am a person," she said. "And I will not build my future on someone who sees me as anything less." Some argued. Some pleaded. Some grew angry. She remained calm. "You taught me to choose wisely," she said. "I have." The endurance trial came last. This one worried him. Not because it was physically demanding, but because it was designed to expose weakness. Long hours, isolation, problem-solving under exhaustion. He was placed alone in a controlled environment and given tasks that required patience rather than strength. He struggled. He failed some tasks. He sat on the floor at one point, breathing hard, head in his hands. No one helped him. Eventually, he stood and continued. Not faster, not stronger, just steadier. When it ended, he was shaking, but upright. Observers noted something strange. He did not push himself to impress. He pushed himself because stopping meant giving up. And giving up was not something he allowed himself to do easily. When she saw him afterward, she noticed the exhaustion in his eyes. "You did not have to endure all of this," she said. He smiled faintly. "Neither did you." They sat together again, quieter now, closer. "I am afraid," he admitted. "So am I," she said. That honesty settled between them like a shared truth. The galaxy had not accepted them yet. Many still resisted. But something had changed, not because he proved humans were strong, but because he showed. Strength did not need to shout. And for the first time in her life, the alien girl felt chosen too. The pressure did not ease after the trials. If anything, it became heavier, quieter, and more focused. The loud voices faded, replaced by careful planning behind closed doors. Committees stopped arguing and started deciding. That was how he knew things were becoming serious. He was informed that a final public review would take place. Not a test this time, but a judgment. Representatives from many species would attend. Her decision would either be confirmed or restricted. His presence was required, not as a symbol, but as proof. He slept poorly the night before, not because he feared pain or punishment, but because he feared being the reason she lost something she could never get back. Power, respect, freedom. Humans were used to losing. She was not. When he met her before the gathering, she noticed the tension in him immediately. "You are thinking of leaving," she said softly. "I am thinking of you," he replied. She studied his face. "Say it. If stepping away protects you," he said slowly, "I will do it." For a moment, she said nothing. Then she shook her head. "That choice is not yours alone," she said, "and I will not be protected by your silence." The chamber was larger than any before. Tiered seating rose high, filled with figures of every size and shape. This was not a conversation. This was judgment made visible. He stood at the center with her, separated by a small distance. As if the space itself was undecided dot, an official began listing concerns. Humans lacked longevity compared to her species. Humans lacked political influence. Humans lacked physical presence. Each statement was delivered calmly, like reading facts from a report. He listened without protest, and the official turned to him. "You may speak," they said. He had not prepared a speech. Humans rarely got the chance to speak in rooms like this. Words formed slowly. "I understand your concerns," he began. His voice echoed more than he liked. "I share some of them." A ripple of reaction moved through the chamber. "I am not powerful," he continued. "I do not represent an empire. I cannot promise advantage." Some representatives nodded, satisfied. "But I can promise this," he said. "I will never see her as something to gain." Silence followed. "I will not trade her choices for comfort," he said. "I will not ask her to shrink so I can stand taller. If one day she decides I no longer belong beside her, I will accept that, because wanting someone does not mean owning them." He stopped, unsure if he had said too much or too little. The official turned to her. "You accept this?" they asked. "I do," she replied without hesitation. Another representative spoke. "And if he becomes a weakness?" She answered calmly. "Then I will defend him." That shocked them more than his words. The chamber erupted again, but this time the tone was different. Less mocking, more uncertain. They recessed to deliberate. Hours passed. He sat alone in a waiting area, staring at the floor. His hands trembled slightly, not from fear, but from exhaustion. Humans were good at enduring, but endurance still had a cost. She joined him quietly and sat beside him. "No matter what happens," she said, "you did not fail me." He let out a breath he had been holding. "I never wanted to be brave," he admitted. "I just wanted to do my job and go home." She smiled faintly. "And yet here you are." The decision came at last, Dot. They would not block her choice. They would not support it either. Restrictions were placed. Oversight committees formed. Observation periods extended. The bond would proceed under scrutiny. It was not victory. It was survival. As they left the chamber together, reactions followed them. Some looked thoughtful. Some looked angry. A few looked respectful. The galaxy had not accepted them, but it had been forced to acknowledge them. Later, when the station quieted, he found himself alone again. Staring at the stars. She joined him without a word. "You could have stepped away," she said. "Many would have." "I thought about it," he replied. "But walking away would have been easier for me than for you." That felt wrong. She considered that. "You place fairness above comfort." "We learned early that comfort does not last," he said. They stood in silence, the kind that no longer needed explanation. The future remained uncertain. Trials still waited. Resistance still lingered. But something had shifted, not because a human stood beside an alien girl, but because he refused to stand above her or beneath her. and for the first time, the galaxy hesitated before underestimating humanity again. The weeks after the decision were quieter, but not easier. Loud opposition had faded, replaced by constant observation. Everywhere they went, someone was watching, measuring, recording. The bond had been allowed to exist, but not to rest. For him, life did not suddenly become grand or powerful. He still woke early, still ate simple meals, still felt out of place in halls built for others. The difference was that now his presence meant something to people who had never cared before. That attention followed him like a shadow. He returned to work, though his duties were limited. Some coworkers treated him with new respect. Others avoided him completely. A few acted as if he had betrayed some unspoken rule by stepping out of his place. He did not respond to any of it. Humans survived by choosing which battles deserved energy. She continued her role as before, attending meetings, making decisions, carrying expectations. Yet something about her had changed. She spoke more slowly now, with intention. She listened less to fear and more to herself. Those close to her noticed it, even if they did not understand it. When they spent time together, it was never dramatic. No grand displays, just quiet moments, shared meals, long walks through observation corridors, simple conversations about ordinary things. For her, this simplicity felt new. For him, it felt like home. One evening, as they stood watching distant stars, she asked a question she had been holding for a long time. "Do you regret it?" He did not answer right away. Humans learned to think before speaking when words could not be taken back. "No," he said finally, "but I am afraid." She nodded. "Of what?" "That one day you will realize you gave up too much." She looked at him carefully. "And if I say I have gained something instead?" He met her eyes. "Then I will spend every day trying to be worthy of that." That answer stayed with her. The galaxy continued to test them, not through trials now, but through time. Invitations that excluded him, offers made to her alone, quiet suggestions that life would be easier if she chose differently. She refused them all, not loudly, not angrily, just firmly. Each refusal sent a message that could not be ignored. Over time, something unexpected began to happen. Other species started asking questions, not about her status, but about him, about humans. They noticed patterns. Humans endured without spectacle. Humans bonded deeply without control. Humans valued consent, choice, and quiet loyalty in ways that did not always show on scanners or charts. A human was assigned to assist in a trade dispute. Another was asked to mediate a conflict. Slowly, carefully, humanity's image shifted, not to powerful, not to dominant, but to reliable. He never claimed credit for any of it. When asked, he always said the same thing: "I am just human." One day, a young alien approached him in a corridor, clearly nervous. "Is it true," they asked, "that you could have walked away?" "Yes," he replied. "Why did you stay?" He thought for a moment. "Because walking away would have been easier for me. And fairness matters." The alien seemed confused, then thoughtful. That was how change happened. Not through speeches, through moments. Eventually, the oversight lessened. Committees disbanded. Observers moved on to newer controversies. The galaxy had accepted what it could not control. Their bond was no longer a question. On a quiet cycle, she invited him to a place few had seen. A small garden grown under artificial light, filled with plants from different worlds. Life surviving far from home. "I come here when I need to remember who I am," she said. They sat together among the greenery. "You once said being chosen was a responsibility," she said. "Do you still believe that?" "Yes," he replied. but not a burden. She smiled. For the first time, she said softly, I feel wanted without being claimed. He felt something tighten in his chest. For the first time, he said, I feel seen without being judged. They stayed there for a long time, saying nothing. Years later, historians would debate the moment humanity's standing changed. Some would point to treaties, others to shared victories. A few would mention a human and an alien girl who refused to play the roles expected of them. None of them would fully understand it, because the truth was simple. A human did not rise by conquering the stars. He rose by standing still, by choosing respect over advantage, by proving that strength could be quiet and love could be free. And in choosing him, the alien girl did not lower herself. She lifted both of them. Together, they showed the galaxy that desire without ownership, power without control, and connection without fear were not weaknesses. They were the strongest things of all.